Hi everybody, and welcome to Nerd to the Third Power, your one-stop shop for all things nerdy and awesome. I'm your host, Master Ceremonies, Dr. Gonzo, freshly recovered from my bout of Nurgle's rot. So, yes, and with us, as always, in this epic quest of awesomeness is our resident anime goddess, the one, the only, the beautiful, the Cat. Cat, how you doing?
Here. Some days that's all you can ask for.
Yep, especially in this day and age. And that will be a blessing come holiday shopping season, since we're all working retail.
Oh, don't remind me.
I'm not. I'm a DJ.
I'm a DJ. I want that as a ringtone. I'm a DJ.
John, did you eat that moldy tuna sandwich?
No, I'm just remembering that even though I'm not working in retail, I'm still working with people in customer service. I'm gonna be doing it on Christmas.
John's having a breakdown again.
Alright, somebody change his diaper and give him a bottle and we'll soldier on. But anyway, we got a show for tonight. Tonight we are discussing Marvel and DC's respective movie plans for the next 5 years.
Oh, that's a conservative estimate.
To unload all of their plans right on us at once. So yeah, we'll be discussing whether or not that was a smart move or not. But of course, there is procedure to follow, so we will begin our show as always with Ask a Geek. First question here comes from the Facebook from Gregory, and he asks all of us, what is your opinion of the trend of the Doctor insulting Clara's appearance at least once an episode? Skyblaze, let's start with you.
I don't think it's really him insulting her, just him kind of not really understanding what the fuck it is with humans and their obsession with what they look like. I mean, you can tell just from the way the Doctor's always dressed, you know, it looks like he's just dived into the nearest rubbish sale bin. He doesn't really give that much of a toss. The fact that, you know, there's all makeup going on and doing your hair and all this sort of business, he just doesn't get it.
And maybe it's also a little bit of to play up on Peter Capaldi's age and sort of portray him as being a little bit older and a little less in touch with the times and not really understanding what looks good and what doesn't.
Yeah, I'm kind of thinking much the same way as Skyblaze and Cat. I think it's amusing. I think that it's less about him trying to insult her and more about just showing that he doesn't get it. That this particular incarnation of the Doctor just does not quite get humans and appropriate conversation as much as the others. Either that, or he just feels that since he has now incarnated as a grumpy old man, that he is no longer obligated to make the attempt anymore. Either way, I do feel like there is a thin line that they tread with this, where it could either get old or just start to look mean-spirited. Fortunately, they've pretty much managed to tread it pretty well so far.
Brian, what about you?
I got really nothing out of that conversation. I think everyone covered everything.
I will say that this current Doctor actually does have a better fashion sense than some of his forebears. Sixth Doctor. Something caught in my throat there.
Next question here from Tiffany to all of us. What is the weirdest piece of media you've had to explain to someone else? And I'm going to go first on this one because I've actually got a story that goes with this one. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this on the show, but me and Skyblaze got picked up for a podcast over at This Week in Geek called Last Exit to Ponyville, which is basically a My Little Pony centric podcast that right now is done maybe once or twice a month since we're in the middle of hiatus. Well, we recorded a show last week talking about the new Equestria Girls movie, Rainbow Rocks. Now, I'd had to finagle the scheduling a little bit because I was having a meeting with my father that evening, and he showed up like an hour before we were supposed to record. So I had to explain, okay, look, I've got a podcast that I do tonight, so we're going to have to take a break out of our discussions here for me to do that. It's like, oh, what's it about? It's like, it's about My Little Pony. And he was like, really? And like he knows that he's known I've been a brony for years, and he hasn't really cared. But this is the first time that he's ever had any real direct exposure to it. So I got to go through the unenviable position of recording a show talking about candy-colored ponies and candy-colored humans, while my father is sitting in the couch staring at me this whole time like, what the hell have I brought into this world?
Is that really the first time he stared at you thinking that?
It's the most recent.
I mean, he's met you, so...
So that's mine. Skyblaze, what about you?
I actually have a kind of broadly similar experience. In the year 2000, I was going to a convention in Manchester, which is about 2 and a bit hours away from where I was living with my parents. And they decided that they were going to give me a lift there rather than me getting the train because it would be easier. And my dad had just got a new car, so he wanted to put it through its paces a bit. So they drove me down to this convention hotel, and the people that I was there to meet had gone out for lunch. So I said, I'll sit in the bar and wait for them. There's some of my other friends here, because I've been going to cons for over a year by that point. I knew quite a number of people. And my parents said, no, we'll stay with you and make sure that you meet up with them, because I was room sharing with them, because we don't want you to be without a room. I went, all right, if you insist. So I went to sit in the bar, and then got to watch my parents' expressions as people in, there was a guy in a Robocop costume that was really impressive. There was somebody dressed as a Hyrogen from Star Trek Voyager. There was a guy with a massive bushy beard. I knew him quite well, actually. His name's Keith, but he was wearing the original series Star Trek original series miniskirt.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
he's wearing one of those because he gives precisely 0 fucks. And he was like, he looked at me. I went, oh, hello, Becky. I went, oh, hi, Keith. And he wandered off to the bar, and my parents are just looking at me sideways, and I was like, yeah, this is my life. What?
Kat, I'm sure you've got a story to tell.
I've had to try and explain the My Little Pony fandom to people outside, including my coworkers, and to parents who don't really get it at all. And I've had to explain anime fandoms and all this other stuff to parents. My parents are nerds, so I haven't really, when I first got into anime, they didn't really get it, but I watch Doctor Who every week with my dad, so he doesn't get to tell me anything about my weird fandoms because he took me to a Star Trek convention when I was like 8. So they don't judge me for it or anything. And my parents lived in Japan, so there's stuff about the anime fandom that they kind of already knew about because I've never had to explain hentai to them. One day they will ask me about yaoi and yuri, and then I'll have to have the awkward conversation. But until they initiate that one, I'm not gonna explain it.
Brian, John, any stories to tell?
Well, not really stories. I mean, every so often when a new comic book movie comes out, everyone asks, not everyone, but some people ask me, all right, what's this about? And I kind of explain it, and they kind of go off on their own. Nothing really comes out of it anymore, especially since nowadays it seems to be so common. The only time I've ever had a sort of a sideways look is with professional wrestling. Some of my friends who don't get it, they used to hang out every so often, and I would just put on a random pay-per-view for the WWE, and some of the old 80s stuff where it was really a bit cartoony, and they would sort of ask questions and all right, Brian, what's about this guy? I explain that he does this, and this. What about this guy? This, and this. What about that guy? He's kind of dead. And it's just because it's the Undertaker, and his whole gimmick was he's not kind of alive. I'm like, come again? I was like, okay, you see the guy that's managing him? Yes. What's his name? Paul Bearer. Are you shitting me? Yes. Hold on, I'm not done.
Oh my god, I just got it.
Oh my god.
Yeah. It's in his hand he has an urn. Okay, so he has an urn. Yeah, that's where Undertaker gets his powers from. His powers? Wait, fast forward, he's ascending to heaven. What? Oh god. And everyone's like, why do you watch this? I'm like, because I do.
I tell you, I'd watch that if it were an anime.
John, what about you?
So there's this company that releases DVDs and Blu-rays of what they consider particularly noteworthy, merit-worthy artistic films. They're called the Criterion Collection. And just a few weeks ago, I stumbled across a movie that I did not realize they had released on Blu-ray. It's a little black and white 70s movie called Eraserhead. And...
Oh boy.
See, I'm cheating a little bit with the question because the question is, what's the weirdest piece of media that you try to explain to anyone? And I usually don't explain to people what Eraserhead is before I make them watch it.
That's mean.
The most I tell them is, I'm like, it's a surreal black and white gorgeous nightmare. And I don't tell them anything else about it. I just say, just watch it.
You are a sick, sick man.
Okay, and with that, that's all the Ask a Geek questions that we have for this week. As always, you can send them to us in the email at billysmith@channelawesome.com, or drop them in the Deck Out of the Glass forum threads, or our engineer also puts up a Facebook thread every week, so if you're one of our Facebook faithful, you can pop a question on that thread there. And ordinarily, this would be where we would go straight into the headlines, but before that, we have a bit of administrative business to take care of. Listeners who've been with us this year know that, and have commented on the absence of Brendan the Blast Seeker, our tabletop correspondent. He announced on our Facebook a few months ago that he was leaving for personal reasons, and of course we wish him all the best and all the success in the world. And doors always open for you to come back if you want to visit, buddy. But that leaves us without a tabletop correspondent, and Skyblaze has volunteered to step up and take the post. So Skyblaze is our new tabletop correspondent.
Yay!
Oh,
So,
awesome! I had no idea.
Skyblaze, any words of acceptance for this new position?
Well, thank you very much, and I'll try and do my best to maintain the standards of quality and maybe expand the focus that Rue and Brendan have started.
And so with that, we're going to jump right into our headlines, starting this week with Skyblaze. Take it away.
Hi there, and welcome to my first time presenting the news from the tabletop. I'm very happy to be doing this, and my thanks to Rue and Brendan, who've done such a great job before me. So, first up, the reboot of the classic 1980s dark comedy RPG Paranoia has reached and exceeded, by quite a long way, its funding goals on Kickstarter. For those who have never played it, Paranoia was released in 1984 as a clever dystopian pastiche of Cold War-era hostility and, well, paranoia. It features terror, death, Kafkaesque endless bureaucracy, mad scientists, mutants, and treachery, where players are encouraged to lie, cheat, steal, and backstab each other in order to survive. The reboot has a new designer and fan of the original, James Wallace, working as principal designer, as well as two designers who worked on the original, Eric Goldberg and Greg Kostyakin. Check out the Paranoia RPG Kickstarter page for more details. From Wizards of the Coast, designer of D&D 5th edition, Mike Merles, had a Reddit AMA earlier this month, where he teased readers with tidbits from the upcoming releases. Specifically, he said that some features that had been mentioned in earlier press releases, such as mass combat, didn't make it into the Dungeon Master's Guide, mostly for playtesting and balancing reasons, but they might be available later as splatbooks. Speaking of splatbooks, he also promised that they were moving away from the monthly release schedule to avoid system bloating, which did become a huge problem back in the 3rd edition and 3.5 days. He also said that tools and apps for digital role-playing were being evaluated, but nothing concrete was available to announce as of yet. Another designer on D&D 5th Ed, Christopher Perkins, has indicated that Wizards of the Coast are looking into bringing back the open gaming license, which, if it does happen, will make many gamers of my acquaintance leap for joy. Paizo Publishing are sticking to their usual schedule, with a big hardcover supplement for Pathfinder due out next summer. According to sources, it features 6 new playable classes, with most focus on the new Psychic Mage class. Playtesting is already underway, and publishers will be accepting feedback for the next few weeks. Saturday the 15th of November is International Games Day, a special day for tabletop gamers of all stripes to head to their local library to play games, have fun and meet new people. It's co-organised by some games publishers and library associations, and libraries on 4 continents are involved, so it's worth checking out if your local library is one of them. So check out igd.ala.org for further details. That's igd.ala.org. And see if you want to get involved. There are also forums on the rpggeeks.com internet page that have threads set up for people to organise and arrange meetups ahead of time. Fantasy Flight Games are currently in beta for the newest Star Wars RPG book, Force and Destiny, which will be fully cross-compatible with the already released gaming books Edge of the Empire and Age of Rebellion. While these games have been mostly met with mixed reviews due to their limitation and perceived gimmickry, but maybe Force and Destiny can round out the game and present players with a full gaming experience, not to mention the ability to play Jedi. And finally, Catalyst Game Labs has announced the release dates for its next few releases, including the Shadowrun 5th edition beginner's box set. The set will feature a full core rule set, a book of pre-generated character sheets, a solo adventure for 1 character, and a group adventure. Priced at around $20, it will be available to buy on the 19th of November. Well, that's all from me for now, but if there's anything specific you want me to talk about, or any questions you want to ask, please get in touch. Over to you now, Kat.
Thanks, Skyblaze. Voice actress Yanaga Kazuko passed away November 1st due to sepsis. She was best known as Sanada Sato in Yu Yu Hakusho, Fiona in Armored Trooper Votoms, and was the dub-over voice of Ellen Ripley in Aliens. She was 67. Adult Swim has announced the schedule for Toonami's Movie Month in December, and this is great news for all you Hellsing fans. Just a few weeks ago, they announced they weren't able to get the last 2 episodes of Hellsing Ultimate, but lucky for us, they managed to land them after all. Hellsing Ultimate 9 will air along with Summer Wars on December 6th, and Episode 10 on December 13th, along with Full Metal Alchemist Sacred Star of Milos. On December 20th, they'll air Dragon Ball Z Movie 8 The Legendary Super Saiyan and Akira, and on December 27th, they'll be airing Evangelions 1.11 and 2.22. Vancouver voice actor Lee Tokar announced on Twitter that an Ocean Group dub of Dragon Ball Z Kai is coming soon. Ocean Group, for those who don't know, originally dubbed the beginning of Dragon Ball Z for Funimation. Later episodes and eventually the entire series were redubbed by Funimation actors, and this will actually be the first time the entire series is going to be released with its original dub actors. No other news is really available at this time. North American publisher Vertical announced that it has licensed the digital rights to publish all of their titles by Osamu Tezuka. Starting in December, they'll be uploading 2 to 3 books every 2 to 3 weeks for the Apple iBook Store, Kindle, Nook, and hopefully Google Play. They've officially announced 10 titles, including Apollo Song, Buddha, and Blackjack. And finally, it's been confirmed that the 2nd season of Sailor Moon Crystal will be the 2nd half of the 26-episode series. Yes, we're skipping that 90s anime filler season and going straight into the Black Moon arc, and yes, that will mean the introduction of Chibiusa.
Thank you, and welcome to the Multiverse Headlines, where in this case, that name is more true than ever before, with 2 major news stories breaking over our time off, unfortunately. So here's the chance to play catch up. This is a story I've been actually sitting on for a long period of time. It deals with DC. DC was going to have an event sometime next year, around April and May, to sort of cover the fact that they're going to be moving from New York to Burbank, California. But I didn't have any concrete information to report on, so I didn't and waited. But now I do. The event has been announced. It's called Convergence. And what's going to happen here is that it's being held by Jeff King, who is actually more of a TV writer than a comic book writer, but honestly, I've seen so many transfer between TV, comic books, and screenplays, it's hard to keep them all together. And the idea is very simple. Multiple Earths. That's right, multiple Earths. Bottled Earths, if you will, of all different kinds of universes of the DC. Red Sun, Kingdom Come, and possibly, just possibly, but don't hold your breath, pre-New 52 universe as well. The event's going to run for 2 months. That sounds like a long time, but like I said, this is covering a move from April through May. So far, no other creators have been announced for this project as of yet. Some names are floating around, and hopefully when they get named, I can also talk about them as well. The other bit of news actually is something I have been reporting on for a while, but obviously now more information is coming through with the Secret Wars event that Marvel is putting on next year. If you remember, Marvel was putting on all these sort of different teasers, and we're all sort of questioning what was going on, if they were bringing back old events, or, like in many cases, is this sort of connected to Secret Wars? Well, it is. More so, in fact, it's connected to Battle World. Battle World, if you remember, was the world that first happened in the very first Secret Wars. So now what you have now in their YouTube videos, that all of these different teasers represent different worlds, all taking place on this same planet, much like the original Secret Wars. Now I do realize these 2 events sound, well, incredibly similar to one another, and you can't overlook the similarities. Unfortunately, in the comic book world, these events are usually planned out months ahead of time, with the other side not really knowing what the other side is going to do. So you do get similar stories, and by the laws of probability, you're going to have a situation where they're going to run 2 similar stories at the exact same time, to which was what we have here in 2015. That's all the stories I have for the moment, and I'm going to keep track of both of these because these are probably going to shape the events of the universes to come sometime next year.
All right, and we are back. And a couple weeks ago, Marvel pretty much said, okay, that's it, cards on the table, and announced all of their films for the next, like, 5 years or so. So for this episode, we're going to stack up the two slates together, see how they add up, and whether or not it was a good idea to announce all of these films so far in advance, because I'll tell you, there's a few things that I got to say about that score. Brian, let's start with you, since you've got more insight into the respective companies. What do you think was the mindset behind doing all of this?
It's really weird because you're talking about two different companies at this point with two different directions that they're going in. Marvel, I think, was just going to do it anyway because they just want to. There was a big hype for it. Except for Ant-Man, poor Ant-Man. This is just how, for them, how to build, I guess, brand recognition is because they have it in phases. They had phase 1, they had phase 2. Now, like, all right, here's phase 3. This is what we have planned coming up for the future, the sequels and the new characters that will be arriving in theaters. DC's playing catch up, as everyone's kind of known that for the last couple of years. So it was their turn to kind of go, all right, we have Batman, Superman. Okay, here's some Wonder Woman. We got Flash. We're going to try Green Lantern again, way down the line. Here's Aquaman. It was more, one was, here's hyping up our next slate. Here, the other one is, all right, here's what we're trying to do, and hopefully it'll work. You know, it's confidence versus fingers crossed, if you kind of look at it that way.
So this was sort of DC's Hail Mary pass.
DC's Hail Mary's pass is Batman v Superman. That's their Hail Mary. If that doesn't work out, I'm pretty sure this slate may be dead on arrival.
So let's start with the obvious question here. What are the films that you are most looking forward to on both of these slates? So John, we'll start with you on this one.
The one that I'm probably the most looking forward to of any of them, and have been since it was first announced they were doing it, is Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Because I love all that weird, mystical, creepy, occult stuff that they're gonna pull in through that. And
beep, 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 paging massive goth.
Paging massive goth. Yeah, I'm so looking forward to it. I'm less enthusiastic about Benedict Cumberbatch than I thought I would be. Even though I know he's gonna knock it out of the park, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna prove me wrong, but he just was not who I first thought of for that part, because really, deep in my little fanboy heart, I wanted him to play the title character of DC's Sandman when they did the Sandman movie, because I believe that's a part he was born to play, and he will never play it now, and that just gets me right here. But that's definitely the number one. As for DC, it's a little hard to be enthusiastic about them. Not because I don't love the characters, because historically I'm actually way more of a DC person than a Marvel person. Most of my favorite comic book characters are DC characters. But I feel like they've let Man of Steel and Zack Snyder set the tone for them, and I just don't think I can get very enthusiastic about that tone for the cinematic DC universe. So the one of all of theirs that I'm looking forward to the most is the one that actually may not tie in to the rest of the DC universe, according to the current rumors, and that's the Captain Marvel movie, Shazam. All we know about Shazam...
With Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Yeah, but he's not playing Captain Marvel, he's playing Black Adam.
Black Adam, which I think is actually a fairly good fit.
No, it's a perfect fit, but did you know, like, when I heard that there was, like, a rumor he was going to be in something, and the rumor might have been Shazam, Captain Marvel, I was like, oh, let him play Captain Marvel, because I just think that would be hilarious. I don't know if it would be any good, but it would be hilarious. And he's like, no, I'm going to be Black Adam. I'm like, oh, good choice, too.
Disappointed but enthusiastic at the same time.
Of all the movies on DC's slate, I feel like that's the one that has the most potential to be genuinely fun. Because Captain Marvel inherently is a more fun character than most of the others. Because, you know, he's secretly a little kid. He's a little kid that says a magic word, he turns into a superhero, and his enemies, for the most part, are the most unapologetically retro sci-fi comic enemies that you can get. He's got, like, a mad scientist with pointed ears and huge thick glasses, and he's got a tiny little alien worm that controls people's minds by crawling in through their ears. That could be awesome if they're willing to just let it be fun.
Skyblaze, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Well, obviously I'm looking forward to Age of Ultron, because duh.
I'm sorry, did I surprise you?
No.
You surprised us in the silence. We're like, oh, we were expecting something else.
The one that kind of really surprised me that they're doing is they're doing Carol Danvers' Captain Marvel.
Yeah, that actually doesn't surprise me as much because last couple of years they've been pushing that character in the comics very hard.
And good on them, because she's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Not to mention that there has been an increasing call for a female-led superhero movie. I mean, people have kept asking over and over again why Black Widow hasn't gotten a movie yet.
Yep.
And at this point, Marvel was saying, yeah, we're gonna do it, but DC kind of threw down the gauntlet for them because Wonder Woman is gonna be coming out before Marvel's Captain Marvel movie.
Speaking of Shazam, though, I have to confess, I was always more of a Marvel than a DC, and I've never read a lot about the DC Captain Marvel, but whenever I have come across him, it's always struck me as a character I'd quite like to know more about. I'm interested to hear about the untitled female Spider-Man universe film that Sony's on about doing.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, Sony. Oh, Sony.
I mean, the people are batting around Spider-Woman or Black Cat.
Well, they introduced Felicia Harding in Amazing Spider-Man 2, who she was the secretary to Harry Osborn. So it's there. They're like, tease, haha, and then nothing else came from it. I don't know if they can do Spider-Woman. I don't know if they have the license to Spider-Woman. I don't know if she was packaged along with Spider-Man when they sold off the licensing rights.
It's hard to say.
Yeah, so like, but like there should be more though, because
there's a new character I was reading about that they just recently introduced called like Web or something like that.
Silk, I believe.
Silk.
Is her name.
Okay, I was close. And apparently, like, I haven't read any of the comics that have her in it. I don't really know much about her, but it sounds like she's a character they're pushing forward a bit. So, and there are rumors that she's a possibility for the untitled.
Remember, this is a Sony-led thing.
This is true.
So Marvel are not going to let any more characters go.
Well, see, it's kind of funny because Marvel's on much better terms with Sony than they are with Fox. Marvel is actively trying to sabotage Fox's Fantastic Four movie, and they're even trying to kind of like slow them down on the X-Men. There's an official moratorium on the writers of X-Men don't introduce any new characters, because any new characters that they introduce, because they're part of the X-Men universe, because of the rights package they have with Fox, they'll get to use them in the movie. So they're like, no more new X-Men characters as long as Fox has those rights.
Yeah, which is the same reason why the Fantastic Four book got canceled, and they are not using any Fantastic Four characters in any promotional artwork. It got so bad that the CEO, the guy in charge of Marvel, and he's sort of the reason this is happening because he had a real bad falling out with 20th Century Fox, actually had posters removed from Marvel's headquarters of Fantastic Four.
It's so ridiculous, but I think they're counting on Fox's Fantastic Four movie, the new one, to fall flat on its face.
I don't know what to think about the Wonder Woman movie, because what I've heard about it so far makes me cringe, because they're using the New 52 origin, bleh.
Yeah.
And she's wearing this costume that seems to have no fucking colour in it and is like bronze and black. It's like, what the fuck is this?
Well, in fairness to that, I think that was just how they did the poster. I would be very surprised if that's how the final costume is going to look in the film.
See, the thing is...
Well, depends on the filter that's
I was about to say, the thing is, if they're using Zack Snyder's aesthetic to unify this, which they probably are based on all the promotional artwork we've seen, that doesn't matter how colorful her costume is, it's gonna be washed out just like every other movie he makes.
Yeah, and that pisses me off, because the point to me of comic book movies is, you know, everything at the moment is pretty fucking depressing. I can look out my window and see kind of grey and brown on the stones and stuff. I live on a city that's made of limestone and sandstone, guys. I don't need more of it in my movies. I don't need things to be grey and brown. The thing is that every time I've gone to see a DC movie recently, I've ended up leaving the cinema feeling really, really pissed off. And very few of them, of the ones that have been announced, have made me go, actually that could be good, because everything I've heard about it so far has made me go, maybe The Flash, if it's Wally West, they can resurrect this. But I'm not enthusiastic about DC's output on the big screen at the moment. Especially not for the Batman and Superman thing. because I think it's going to be, again, just annoying and depressing.
Kat, what movies are you looking forward to the most?
As has already been said, I think the one that I'm most looking forward to is Doctor Strange, just because I think the mysticism and supernatural elements to it will be very, very interesting. Of course, it needs to be done right, which I think they will. It'll be something different, because so far we had, here's the technology, and we've kind of explained everything through science, and then we were like, oh shit, aliens and Avengers, and that sort of opened up a new door, and now we're gonna have this sort of mysticism stuff, and that's gonna open up all new doors, and I think it'll be really, really cool. I mean, I'm really looking forward to pretty much all of Marvel's lineup. Since it's a lot of sequels, we kind of already know what to expect, so I think it's pretty safe. DC's lineup? Okay, maybe it's just because of the actor that they picked, but I kind of am excited for Aquaman. I know I'm the only one, and it has everything to do with the actor that they picked, and that's pretty much it.
Well, how about you tell us who this actor is?
Is it Jason Momoa?
Yeah, Jason Momoa.
Yes.
AKA Khal Drogo.
From Game of Thrones, so it's like, I just want an excuse to watch this actor in anything at all.
See,
And the fact that since it's Aquaman, he'll probably spend the whole movie without a shirt means no, never mind to you.
Oh, I mean, he spent all of Game of Thrones without a shirt on,
Sometimes
so
less than that.
I'm fully prepared for him to be without a shirt the entire time.
Brian, what about you? What are you looking forward to?
Let's see here. As I go through the list, I'm going to stick mostly with my Captain America, despite the fact they are using Civil War as the subtitle, but I don't think it's going to be the Civil War that... I know. I'm with you. But I don't think it's going to be the exact same Civil War that was in the comics, because one of the main things...
Bloody well hope not!
Yeah, well, one of the things in the comics was the reason they butted heads was because of the Superhero Registration Act, where all superheroes had to register their identity, and Tony's like, we gotta do this, and Captain's like, that's dumb! That's actually the best explanation I can give.
That's the storyline they're going with.
It sounds like it should be the opposite, like personality-wise from what they've given us in the movies. That really should be the opposite.
Possibly, but the thing is, like, in the movie universe, everyone knows who these people are. There isn't a secret identity. They know Steve Rogers is Cap, they know Tony's Iron Man, they know who Thor is, and he doesn't have a secret identity.
Yeah.
So it's like, who the hell is registering? We're gonna register the superheroes. Well, you're all here, and we know who you are. We're done.
I'm calling it right now. The Civil War plotline is just to set up whatever Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to be doing at that point. I'm calling it right now. That's where the Civil War is going to be explored, as in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Well, it's the same thing with Age of Ultron. They're using the name because that was also a comic book series. But that one also, the comic book involved like time travel and dystopian futures, and then a future Wolverine, Sue Storm, that's still running around the universe because they never wrapped up the fucking plot line.
What? A comic book didn't wrap up a plot line? It's unheard of.
Say it ain't so.
They really can't do Civil War straight up, because, like, probably the linchpin scene, like, in my opinion, possibly the best scene in the whole storyline was Peter Parker unmasking on live TV, and they don't have him.
Yep.
That's true. So I'm always looking forward to Captain America. Captain America is my homeboy. That sounded better in my head. I'm tentative for both Flash and Aquaman, mostly because I think it's so weird to have an Aquaman movie, because like I would probably put money down 10 years ago they would never happen. It still may not, but you know, to see Aquaman kind of get a spotlight, it's like, yay, someone else likes him. That's me clapping.
It's just you, the director, and the producer, and that's about it.
Yeah, and that's another thing. Like we looking like of all these dates, we only know like what a handful of the actors and a handful of the directors involved in any of these. We know like James Gunn will come back for Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm pretty sure Josh Whedon will come back for Avengers 3 and 4, aka Avengers 3.
Twice. Avengers 3 twice.
Avengers 3 twice.
We took a page from Harry Potter.
Yeah, everyone's doing that nowadays. They started a terrible trend.
Yep.
But other than that, like other than Captain America, like Doctor Strange, okay, I'll go see it, but I'm not super enthusiastic. Thor Ragnarok, okay, I'll go see it. You know, unless Beta Ray Bill shows up, not super enthusiastic. Black Panther, all right, I'll go see it. Still not really super enthusiastic. My biggest surprise is DC's going to push a Cyborg movie. Out of all the characters, that was a guy I would not have chosen. Not out of hatred of the character. I didn't think they would actually do it.
I think we're sharing the same reaction that most of the world is having to the Cyborg announcement. That's, who the fuck is Cyborg?
Unless you've seen Teen Titans.
Yeah.
In which case, it's like, why is he getting his own movie instead of a Teen Titans movie?
Seriously, I would love a Teen Titans movie.
They're pushing him as sort of a bigger. He has a bigger role in the DC universe now than he's had before. So they're, I guess, promoting him, if you want to call it something like that, as instead of like a B-lister team guy, he can be his own solo guy, which is all well and good. But hey, fingers crossed, if the stars align up properly, maybe like he will star in a Teen Titans movie. Maybe not. I don't really know. But yeah, like that's sort of what I'm looking at, what I'm looking forward to. But again, I won't know what I'm looking forward to unless I get some more information from these things. Because right now it's fucking rumors, and and the whole concept. Even in this show, I don't like the concept that this is becoming a sport. Like the people are rooting and like cheering or sometimes insulting people who like something different, or like rooting for some to fail. I'm like, holy shit, guys! I thought we were in like sports, but we're acting like sports fans. Maybe we could take a chill pill for a while.
To be fair, this is actually nothing new, because I remember back in the 90s the arguments between the consoles.
Oh boy.
And in particular, the one that claimed to do what Nintendo don't.
Yep.
I know I'm going to catch flack from Brian because nothing's really substantiated yet, but I am excited about the fact that they're at least seriously discussing the possibility of a Deadpool movie.
That's more than tentative. I'm pretty sure that's really gonna happen.
I believe that as well, but as Brian is so keen to point out, nothing's been confirmed yet.
According to this, it says February the 12th, 2016. Deadpool.
All we know is that Fox finally pulled the trigger and said, yes, we leaked the trailer. I mean, someone leaked the trailer.
And the entire internet exploded.
Yeah, we will make this movie.
It goes back to what I said in our X-Men Days of Future Past episode. Where Cable goes, Deadpool is not far behind.
Cable wasn't in that movie.
Yeah, but they're setting him up. You know it. You know it.
That's what I'm most excited about. I'm also really excited about Age of Ultron because, like Skyblaze said, duh. Although the trailer scored major points in my book for using a twisted version of Pinocchio's "No Strings on Me" song in the trailer.
I know, right?
I was like, this is so appropriate. I love it.
This is the best thing about Disney's acquisition of Marvel.
Throughout that trailer, I half expected like a little demonic Jiminy Cricket to appear on Ultron's shoulder. I am your conscience.
Oh, that
And I am evil.
So I'm excited about that. I'm excited about Captain America because I love Captain America. He's my favorite Marvel character. Although I'm kind of raising my eyebrows. I'm like, wait, they're doing Civil War in #3? Don't we have this whole plotline with the Winter Soldier that we still need to wrap up?
Nah, it's good. It's good.
It was worse.
Well, let's.
The original title they trolled everyone with was the Serpent Society.
In terms of Captain America, it just calling the second one the Winter Soldier, it barely set up the Winter Soldier, so maybe the Civil War is just gonna barely set up the Civil War.
I still think that if they decide to do the Civil War in depth, I think that's something that the lion's share of that is going to be done in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm excited about Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I'm jazzed about that. I'm interested to see Doctor Strange because I never thought they'd go and pull the trigger on a Doctor Strange movie because I've always felt that he was a little OP compared to all the other Marvel heroes. So I'm like, okay, well let's see what they do. Maybe they'll do. And the fact they got Benedict Cumberbatch to play the role for this, I was like, oh, okay, all right, he did an awesome job as Khan. Well, let's see what he does here. So I'm reserving judgment on Doctor Strange until it comes out. Black Panther. I've never liked Black Panther. I always thought he was a bit of an arrogant asshole. But that may be just I'm not reading the right books.
He does rule a country.
It's okay, Gonzo. It just means that you're a horrible racist.
I'm not. Oh God.
That's right, folks. We went there.
Please tell me I don't employ a Tumblr right.
I have a Tumblr.
I have a Tumblr too.
I mean, you have girls.
I have a Tumblr?
You have
I
Tumblrs.
have no idea.
I don't know how to use my Tumblr.
I don't want to know what you get up in the way when you're away from this podcast. If you ever talk like that again,
We decided already we weren't going to talk about porn collections, guys.
That should be the subtitle of this episode.
But anyway, maybe it's just I'm not reading the right books, but Black Panther's always struck me as very arrogant. Not granted, he has reason to be. I mean, he is a king, but I don't like arrogant characters in general.
More or less arrogant than, say, Tony Stark.
Well,
they probably won't make this version very as arrogant as he was in earlier books. I don't think he's actually that much arrogant anymore now. I think they sort of toned that down a little bit. After he got invaded like 7 times, he's like, all right, maybe I should stop being a dick to everyone.
I'm a little leery about the Ant-Man movie, but I think that's mostly because I don't know anything about the character. Now, on DC side, I'm going to be honest, I'm really not enthusiastic about anything coming out of their stable. I mean, they had the Dark Knight trilogy, which was amazing, and then they followed that up with Man of Steel, and I'm just like, guys, you're kind of you're losing your way here. What, you're doing a Batman Superman movie, and okay, all right, fine, okay, that's no, go ahead, okay, sepia tone Wonder Woman, okay, no, you're kind of losing it, guys, stop, DC, what are you doing? Stop, DC, you're drunk.
The problem with DC is that they saw that Batman did really, really well, and they're like, gee, what is Batman? He's really dark, he's really grim, he's kind of depressing at times. Let's make everything more Batman.
And it sort of shows a disconnect from what comics are. Comics have dark and gritty elements, and some are dark and gritty, but comic books are supposed to, at some point in time, be fun.
Even Christopher Nolan's movies were not relentlessly dark. There were some genuinely funny things that happened in that. And even though the tone was dark, it was still kind of optimistic. People have called The Dark Knight a nihilistic movie, and I'm like, did you watch the same movie that I did? Because the climax of that movie was 2 boatloads full of strangers refusing to kill each other to save their lives. That is not a nihilistic movie, just because the villain was a nihilist.
Especially considering one of them was a convicted criminal.
Yeah.
And he's the one who chucked the detonator out the door. The thing that I reckon is the problem is that the people in charge of doing the DC movies are businessmen making movies for businessmen, whereas the Marvel guys are nerds making movies for nerds.
Yeah, I pointed out before we started recording, and this should tell you the difference between the two philosophies right here. Marvel announced their full slate at a convention, at a meeting with fans and press and stuff. DC announced their full slate at a shareholders meeting.
Well, on the subject of Dark Heroes, there's one character that I am disappointed to see, not see on the list, and especially so since he was teased as having been having made a sort of a sly appearance in Captain America 2, and that's the Punisher. I really want to see a Punisher film done right, but you know, I don't know. Maybe he'll show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or something.
Your best bet is he's going to become a Netflix series like Daredevil and Iron Man. Iron Man's getting on Netflix now. The Power Man and Iron Fist. Like, that's your best bet, I think, for the Punisher.
There's one more point that I want to go over here before we close out, and that's sort of this question I have. Was it really? Do you think it was really a good idea for Marvel to announce all of these films in one slate? Because now they've committed themselves to all of these, and from what I'm, there's an article I read on Crack that said that all it's going to take is one shit movie in this slate, and the whole thing's going to go to pot. What do you guys think about that?
Well, they're committed in the sense of, yeah, this is the stuff we're going to make, but I'm pretty sure if things were to happen, let's say whoever they hired to be Captain Marvel, let's say she gets sick, and they have to slow down production because it's like a really bad sickness, and she recovers and everything, but now they're like several weeks behind. I'm pretty sure they can move the movie. Ant-Man is behind the 8 ball because of background stuff of writers and directors leaving and not getting hired and all that kind of crap like that. And I feel sorry for Ant-Man because he does have a very small fan base, very loyal fan base.
Small fan base.
We see what you did there.
I didn't even mean to.
And we are most displeased.
I didn't mean to. But
that makes it worse.
It's yeah. I read the same Cracked article, and I semi-agree, and I agree with the sense that now there is no real surprises. When is Captain Marvel going to show up? When is she going to show up? Well, she might show up soon because she has a movie coming out in 2 years, or so there's no giddiness of sitting there going, ooh, who's gonna show up at the end credits, or ooh, who's gonna show up in this scene? It's all gone. It's like, oh, I know what's happening because you told me and they have a movie coming out, so when they show up, you're like, oh, there you are. Where have you been? I've been here for an hour.
Maybe one of them was sort of forced to go, and so DC was the first to announce their big slate, whereas with Marvel, it had only been sort of guessed at. Do you think DC showing their hand sort of forced Marvel, or do you think this was something Marvel was always going to do because that's just how they do? This
is something Marvel was always going to do, and I can tell you why this was going to happen. Because remember, the Age of Ultron trailer was going to be shown after the end of Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And I was like, ooh, yes, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. And then it was leaked 2 days later, and Marvel was super pissed. The reason Marvel was super pissed because they already had planned out this event, and they were going to basically take up the whole day. The event starts at like noon, ends at 4, and like, look at all these brand new movies, ta-da! By the way, watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. tonight because the Age of Ultron trailer hits, ta-da! Like, it was going to be a whole big thing for them. And then it was kind of cut, not completely off, but when the trailer leaked, it was definitely very much going, well, shit. What else we got? Give him a scene. Okay, here's a scene of them drinking beer and trying to lift Thor's hammer.
And the internet did rejoice.
I love that scene.
It was everything you could want it to be.
I just love that they're just hanging out and drinking beer and just chilling. It was awesome.
And if you love that, you should watch the Avengers Assemble cartoon. It's one of the only American cartoons I've gotten myself to just watch. And it's exactly like that.
Well, yeah, that's so we've sort of covered all the bases here that we can in the time that we've allotted here. So, what's a movie that you're really looking forward to, and what's one that you're really just kind of dreading? Sound off in the comments, and we'll see you next week. And thank you as always for tuning in. As always, I'm Dr. Gonzo.
I'm the cat.
I'm Skyblaze.
I'm Brian, in a lot of pain.
And I'm John, and apparently I'm awake and not in pain. I'm just John.
All right, we'll see you next week. Thank you as always for tuning in. Taco, play us out.